if you always supposed to keep your eyes on the judge.
We're the Smith family, and we live on CD Farms, which is comprised of 391 acres nestled deep in the Ozark Mountains. Parts of the farm have been in the family for over 4 generations. On this farm, we raise beef cattle, primarily, but also birds, and about 4 rambunctious nieces and nephews who run the place. It's not always easy keeping up with the kids, but it's important to us to raise them with a deep love of agriculture and an even deeper love for animals and the land that we live on.
Daisy?
Or me. My cousin slash sister slash aunt.
My name's Dakota, and this is Ashlyn, and this is CD Farms and Ranch.
So, you've acquired some land and you would like to get involved in agriculture, but you have absolutely no idea where to get started on your own homestead. Hi, my name's Dakota Smith, and I'm here from you live at CD Farms and Ranch. But this week, I'm going to be taking you guys away from our farm and all around Searcy County so that we can interview people who I think are the best of the best at their trades. People who deserve exposure and, most importantly, our support as a community, because they bring in tourists either as a facet of the agri-tourism industry or they're growing crops to sell at our local farmers market. Talking to some people who I think are the best of the best at their trade, either because of their great passion or just because of their great success. And today, I think the people that we've interviewed are both of those things. They are passionate, they are kind, they are good to our community, and they are so successful. They've been in Arkansas Life magazine. The head honcho, the boss babe, if you will, Ruthie Pepler, is the president of the Arkansas Agri-Tourism Association. These people are so successful, they're so kind, they're so down to earth, and they were willing to interview me, a blogger who's just starting out. They were so kind to me. They let me milk a cow. They have animals from alpacas to lemurs. Really, these people have it going on. So in case you haven't already guessed it, because you're not from here, I'm interviewing Ruthie and Grace Pepler from Dogwood Hills Guest Farm.
She's got your quarter Holstein in her. And so Holsteins are your production cows, Jerseys are your lower production but higher premium cows. So she's got that nice little mix. Our milk's nice and creamy, but she'll give a couple gallons a day easily.
Oh my god, I did it. Okay.
After explaining to me the ins and outs of dairy farming, Grace allowed me the opportunity to milk a cow.
I can't believe I did
I can't say it went terribly.
Do you use
I
all the
can't
teats
say
or
it
just
went
some of
well.
them?
We do use all of them, but the calves have milked them back too, so there's not a whole ton in there right now. Because she gives so much milk, we don't put the calves up at night yet. Because I'll still get almost a gallon from her while she's still nursing the calves.
Oh my god. I think I'm hitting it most of the time. Alright, I'll let you have it back. So, you have the dairy because of your dietary restrictions, you said?
Yes. So when I was younger, I couldn't handle the fly tags that they put into the cows, and so then we got the old cow and 3 heifers in the back after, we got an original cow. So it turned into a sort of a project of mine. I went to the USDA and took out a youth loan for $4,000, and then all the cows, premium sales went to pay back the loan. So I took that out when I was 12, and I think by the time I was 15, I paid it off, and then took out another one and paid that off last year. So taken out 2 youth loans already. So it's a good way to build credit for kids and stuff, because they're pretty lenient with it, and in case something happens, mom and dad are still there. You're not just on your own with this loan that you got to figure out how to do. But it was a really good way to build, responsibility and credit and things like that.
You said you bought the dairy cow because it was almost cheaper to have the dairy cow?
Yes. So all the organic dairy, the cheese, the yogurt, the milk.
Did you buy from the store?
Yeah, you get from the store is so expensive that it was pretty much almost cheaper to buy a cow and do it all as naturally and organically as possible.
Grace knows a lot about a whole bunch of different kinds of animals, and she should, since she has so many different kinds of ducks, geese, horses, and cows on the farm. But her mother confided in me her favorite animals are probably the dairy cows. Shh, but don't tell any of the other animals that.
Barley, Grace. Why use barley instead of feed?
So the hydroponic barley that we use to grow, barley puts more cream in the milk for the cows. Also another reason why I've done the fodder is because our pasture is very limited, so it helps give us that extra bit of grass that we don't have naturally. And so this pasture fodder can be grown 365 days a year. It's climate controlled, so whether we have a drought outside or it's freezing or whatever the weather condition outside is, it's always the same in here, so it's the same all year round.
Right, and you said you use this with your youth loan, and this is a refrigerating unit.
Yep, so this is a refrigerator trailer. You can see the floor is all graded here. And so I bought it with the youth loan that I got when I was 12. I bought the original system. We have upgraded a little since then. So I bought that, and when this is going at full production, I can grow about 300 pounds a day.
That's really amazing. So what can you tell us about this here?
So this takes 8 days to grow from the time it puts in the buckets to the time that it's harvestable. And so I'll pull it out of the trays when it's ready to go, and I just sort of cut it, in half here, and then I'll cut it down into cubes again so the cows can eat it a little easier. See the roots there, so the cows will eat everything, the grass, the seeds, the roots, so nothing goes to waste.
And would you say this is really environmentally friendly?
For the most part, we try to keep it as well as we can. All the water that we have in here is from our spring, and then of course we have to have the electric and stuff. All the water also goes out to the gray water, so the extra stuff that goes in waters the ducks and whatnot.
How many pounds of this stuff do you typically feed a day?
So right now, when it was better doing the seed pounds that I have right now, I'm getting about 200 pounds a day. So that's I'll divide that up between all the pastures and feed cows, that according to how many cows are in the pasture.
So at that point during the interview, I'd learned a lot of things. I learned about what you can do with alpaca hair. She shaves it down to make merino wool. I'd learned about feeding dairy cows and how to milk, which was so awesome. And I'd even learned that the grass that she grows in her refrigerating unit, which she got with her farm loan, her youth loan from the USDA, is actually fed for a reason. The barley makes it where there's more cream in the milk. But I'd still yet to talk to the boss of the whole place.
All right, so thank you so much for having me here with you today.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, in case you don't know, she gave me yogurt and fresh made scones and teas, and I got to milk a dairy cow. So they've been incredibly hospitable to me. So I'm just really having a great time here at your farm.
Good.
So you've been on PBS and in Arkansas, what, Life magazine?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about that. How does that feel?
It's been interesting. We've been working with Kat Robinson for a while and also the people at Arkansas Life. So this has been kind of a long-standing relationship, and I think a lot of things were in the works already. So when we had this COVID pandemic come along, all these things were already in place, so the timing was just perfect. I mean, we just finished up projects and put it out there, and I think it's the stuff that people need to hear right now about being prepared, about making your food ahead of time, working with what's on hand, basic skills, all those kinds of things are what we covered. So it's kind of very natural for us on the farm.
That's really wonderful that you guys get to share something positive in the media today for other people to see.
So I understand you moved here from New Jersey. What made you want to resettle in the Ozarks? A lot of people don't want to risk starting up a new business, especially in the middle of nowhere. And you're even not even in Marshall. You're a couple miles out of it, right?
Right, we're about 15 miles from Marshall. So yeah, but we're all from Marshall on the way to the Buffalo River, so it's a nice spot to be. Originally, we thought we were moving from New Jersey to New Hampshire to open a pastor's retreat. So we were actually asked to come work for a girls' ranch here. It was a facility that had like a therapeutic facility, so we lived on campus and helped these girls through this program and everything. And I worked as a nurse. My husband worked as an administrator. So we got called. That's how we wound up in Arkansas. So we were asked to come help with that. And then we wound up staying here. We bought this piece of property, and there was nothing here except our house. Everything else was in the woods.
So you basically built this business from the ground up. This barn wasn't here. This kitchen, which is above a dairy barn, definitely was not here. But here you are, being kitchen certified and having so many animals here. How many years did it take you to build this up?
This has been a slow process. We bought the house, which is kind of up diagonally from us. I think when we looked at doing the pastor's retreat and we wound up here, we thought originally we would buy that piece of property because pastors, they needed a place to come with their families. None of the other places allowed children to come. And we thought, this is great because they can be separate, they can have all the privacy they need, they can get out of that fishbowl and just relax, but they can also come and participate, and it's very therapeutic for kids also to unwind a little bit with the animals. We found a lot of stuff that Grace was very good at talking to these kids about some of the things that they were struggling with while they were brushing out a horse or, playing with baby goats. So it was really interesting to see that with her.
Kind of like therapy animals, really. I've noticed.
It really was.
When I was a teacher, I kept parakeets and hamsters in my room because I noticed especially my kids who didn't speak English, they felt more comfortable around animals. So you see that in children?
Yes, very much so. Yeah.
And what kind of animals do you have on the farm? Because I've seen geese and ducks, and I've had an alpaca, and I've milked a cow. What all have you got here?
And a lemur, right?
There's a lemur.
Yep, dairy goats. Mostly it's dairy. Grace originally started with meat animals, meat goats, and a beef cow. And Daddy told her that the animals had to be productive on the farm, so she quickly switched to dairy. And I think she started with the dairy goats. As soon as she moved to dairy cows, that seemed to be her she really loved them. They pretty much cooperate. The goats tend to get out. If they get out, they eat all the flowers in one fell swoop, They can be a little bit more mischievous. I think she really likes her dairy cows. She has a favorite, I think. We won't say, but it's probably Dolly.
She would not admit it, but I knew she had to have a favorite. I have a favorite goose. I'm sure other people have favorite cows.
Yeah.
And she said that this whole dairy thing started because she was allergic to the fly tags they put in commercial dairy cows.
That's what it seemed to. We seemed to trace it back to the fly tags. So we were buying organic milk and organic butter and everything dairy we were buying organic, and it was really expensive. So we decided, you know what? Why don't we get a cow? And we bought one cow, and we learned a lot of lessons with our first dairy cow. And then Gracie bought more. We kept the baby from that dairy cow, and that's our bull. And then she bought, with a youth loan, she bought her first 3 heifers and the elderly Jersey that's in the back. I don't know if you got to see Dewdrop yet.
I did.
Yeah, she's got 15, I think.
Yeah, she's got quite a few dairy cows that need to be fed and foddered.
Yeah. And several generations here on the farm. So
it's so cool. Great to see people building up their herd from the first calf they had. Is that the first one?
Dewdrop was the first registered Jersey she had.
And she showed that in the county fair, right?
Yep.
Yeah, how old was Grace? Was she 12?
12.
She 12
when she bought that cow.
Yeah, and she said she took out a $4,000 youth loan, and she has paid it back.
Twice now. She's taken out 2, yeah.
That's really amazing. That's wonderful for kids to get to do something like that.
And that's her credit, too. We did not co-sign any of that. So now she has Farm Service Agency credit that she's established on her own.
So she could go ahead and move on with this later on.
She could buy a farm now with them. She'd have the established credit to do that. So
it's amazing.
Yep.
About how many people do you get to come visit your farm every year? Would you say, if you had a ballpark number?
It's growing a lot. Some of them come for shorter stays, like a weekend or a long weekend, and some of them come for a whole week. So it's hard to kind of gauge it. February, we start in February pretty much. January is slow. I think we had 2 families in February, and then we had 2 or 3 families reservations in March before COVID hit. We had already had 3 reservations, and then we had to reschedule. So I don't know. We're probably averaging 1 a week right now, just about. But there's been a big jump, and I think it's going to continue because people want to know how to do it. You know, how do you do what you do every day? How do you milk a cow? How do you have chickens? Like, all of a sudden, they want to know about sustainability.
So have you noticed, like, since COVID-19 hit, that people are, because I know when I went to go get a garden tiller, everything in the garden department is
Gone.
sold out. It's gone. Do you think people are planting more victory gardens and farming because they are preparing for the worst, or they're just like, I wasn't prepared for this and I need to learn now?
Right, and I think they were home, and they needed something to do also. So people that were working from home suddenly had the ability to do that. They were suddenly cooking from home because the restaurants were closed for that first shift. Everybody kind of had to figure out how to do stuff that they weren't doing. You know, so many people were getting takeout every day, or they were, you know, doing different stuff that wasn't on their normal agenda. So I think the thought of growing things, they were looking. If they thought people were preppers, all of a sudden they were like, oh, people are prepared. It wasn't just
Doomsday
like,
preppers.
Yeah, it was like, oh, they didn't have to run to the store. Oh, they already had a stash of tools in the garage, you know. I think that's a big shift.
But you're not a doomsday prepper. You're just ready for it.
It was funny, we didn't have to go to the store for like 3 weeks. I was like, okay. I think I did go to the store right as it was thinking about hitting, and I remember them talking about something in Harps about, you know, oh, they said some people should be prepared for 2 weeks, and I'm walking out with like coffee and coffee filters, and I'm thinking, that's it, that's all I had. I'm like, just don't want to. I mean, I had my regular supply of coffee.
Hope you had toilet paper.
I already had that. You know, because we order for here, you know, you order
for
by
the
the
guests.
case. Yeah.
So
That's funny.
that's hilarious.
I didn't have a grocery cart full of soda and toilet paper. I mean, it was like really funny.
I was asking Grace, like, what percent of the food you get grow here? How much do you have produced just for your farm?
Most of the stuff that we produce here is the dairy. So we have all of our herbs and stuff like that. I get in my grains, and people ask me if I make butter or sell butter. I don't sell butter. I do make it when we have excess cream, like during the summertime, but that's usually served to our farm stay guests or our farm to table dinners, because we go through so much butter here.
That's what
So
she's
I do
saying.
buy
It's almost.
butter.
She says you don't make it often, but it's because you go through it so quickly.
We do, but I do have actually. I have a couple of blocks of butter to show you.
And
So-
is it true you just put that in a jar and you shake it, and that's how all the milk comes?
This is about from probably a quart of cream, so it made almost a pound block of butter. And I'll show you what I press it into.
That's really amazing. That's just like what you get from
Gracie,
Sam's Club.
That's Gracie. Okay.
So the butter is like a pound of butter like you get from Sam's Club, only you've made it.
I made
and
it.
you use this butter mold
Yep.
here. And you said you put wax paper underneath, and you just put your butter in the bottom and just
Yep.
press down on it.
until it compacts it. And then you've got this block. Sorry, I'm fussing with this.
Oh, that is
There
really
we go.
amazing. People who make their own butter. Like, do you make it like the old Ozark people make it? We put the cream in a jar, we just shake it and shake it and shake it and shake
Yep.
it until it's eventually butter.
Right, our kids like to do that. So basically, this block would have been in there. It's a little frozen right now, and this is an antique one, so I don't want to. It's all dovetailed, so I don't want to knock those out. So I won't press it in there, but that would sit in there, and then you would press down with this so you get your block nice and hard, and then just lift it right up and wrap it up. And that's kind of what I did.
That's
So
really
then stuck it in
amazing.
the freezer.
That's really, really cool. Yeah, because I know you got to have some good arm muscles for that, or else there'd be a rough road to hoe. So I wanted to ask you, you're the president of the, what is it, the Arkansas
Agritourism Association.
Yes,
Yeah.
Arkansas Agritourism Association. And what does that entail exactly, agritourism and everything like
Oh
that?
boy, agritourism is everything from a farm educating, having hands-on activities, or like it's not just your average. You know, people think agritourism is a corn maze, or it's a U-pick, but it's also like we do the farm stay. People come and they learn hands-on about farming, but it can also be an educational activity. Like we have a plantation down in an old cotton plantation down in the Delta, and they're putting a whole thing up to educate. So they've got a museum, and it'll all be education about that. So that is about how the farm ran and what they did and people that work there and their lives and their history. That's all Ag Ride tourism too.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of that stuff when I went down to Andrew Jackson's homestead. What was it called? I can't remember the name of it right now. It was the Hermitage.
Oh, right.
And they had some things like that, but not to that extent. So this is even more than like a National Park Service sort of thing would be. What do you hope that people take away from staying here? Because I've noticed this isn't a fake farm.
It's real.
It's not all done up. It's pretty. It's beautiful, but it's not all done up for show. This is a real working farm. This is a real barn down here with hay scattered and dairy cows getting milk.
Chickens running through the barn.
And the lemur's new. I've never seen
lemur's new. Yeah, he was gifted to us. Yeah, but he's just there. He just loves. He likes the activity. That's why he's still in the barn.
It's so great that you've taken him. But what do you hope that people take away from staying with you and learning about where the food comes from and their empathy for farmers and what it is that we do?
I think, first of all, they realize that the work is hard. You know, what we do every day, you know, one of the things we explain to the kids is we don't get a day off. You know, Christmas morning, yeah, we're milking the cows. I'm putting on my coveralls and I'm going out to the barn and milking the cows because the cow doesn't know it's Christmas. You know, that this happens every day, that the chores happen every day, that even if you're not feeling well, you're going out and you're doing that. But mostly, I mean, kids walk into the chicken coop and they reach under a hen and they pull out an egg and it's warm. And they're like amazed. Or they're squirting milk and it hits their arm and it's warm and they're like, I expected it to be cold. And I'm like, why? And then
there's an animal.
Yeah, so let's talk about why you thought that the milk was cold, you know, because it comes from the store. No, it comes from the cow. And then all of a sudden they realize that.
Do you ever get kids who wonder where the chocolate milk comes from?
Yes. We had one little girl, and God bless her, Gracie said it so carefully, tactfully, but the little girl says, does your brown cow give chocolate milk? And she goes, no, dear, it gives white milk just like the rest of them. She goes, well, we could fix it for you, make it chocolate upstairs if you want.
That is so adorable.
Yeah. But I hope that when they leave, all of a sudden they notice the farmer's market that they've been driving by for 10 years and never noticed it was there, and they think, oh, let me stop and get my vegetables there instead of from far away, you know, at the grocery store.
Because everything at your farm to table is 25 miles away.
Yes, yeah, and it makes it tricky sometimes. You know, sometimes I'll get a call from the farmer and he tells me the night before that the lettuce just froze, and I'm going like, okay. But what I do is I have a backup plan. But I'm very honest with my guests here. I'm like, okay, so-and-so said the lettuce froze last night. This is a replacement, but all of the rest of these pieces are from this, this, and this. You know, we might have had to replace a base lettuce or something, but, you know.
But it all works out.
But it's honesty. It's about being honest. It's not about trying to pass lettuce that I had to pick up at the grocery store to fill in as what the farmer got me. Not if his froze. I'm going to tell him it froze.
I'm sure the community feels the positive impact of you using their resources instead of buying things that have been shipped in from Mexico or Brazil.
I think so. I think the fact that I can walk out there and tell them where every single aspect of their food on their plate came from and how it was grown, and I think they like that. I mean, it's not just me cooking in here, setting it out on a plate and sending it out there. I come out and I tell them the story behind the food. You know, what farmers are growing these. They can look at my page and they can see what farms are, you know, they can look up their Facebooks and they can see how they're growing things. It's kind of neat that they know exactly what's going on their plate.
All right, that's really amazing. Thank you so much, guys. This has been Ruthie Pepler, and this is her farm, Dogwood Hills Guest Farm. Check it out on Facebook because this is a really amazing, cool place where they'll let you milk the cows and show you all the processes.